And I study things like cults and serial killers and uh, people anomalies like this. Um, Not because I'm a cult or because I'm a serial killer, but because I want to understand what these people are thinking. I've always wanted to know. I've always wanted to know. And recently, here within the last day, I've started to pay more attention to North Korea. And I realize that this is goes on in North Korea, has always went on there. There's places in China, there's places in Colombia. I know that it's everywhere, and that's why this is such a big topic. And the things I'm seeing just it makes you realize how big it really is. It being the machine, the problem, the world, all of it. But I'm seeing these things of North Korea, and you're talking about 24 million people that live in a concentration camp. And I mentioned cults before because, like I said, I study cults. I want to know why people do what they do because I think that's the best way to overcome it. And so, with looking into this North Korea stuff, wow. I mean, you're talking about 24 million people in a cult sponsored by the state functioning within one giant concentration camp that it is punishable by death if you leave. And I feel silly because here I've spent time studying cults like Scientology, this little internet destiny cult, Gold Ring from Blog Talk Radio, all these things, the Catholic Church, all these things pale in comparison. I mean, pale like a drop in the bucket compared to the reality of 24 million people that live in North Korea on a daily basis. And those that were literally born inside all of North Korea is a concentration camp, but there are literally concentration camps in North Korea where if you violate a law, you get sent to their either rehabilitation school. They've got three different levels. The third one is straight up Auschwitz. Just you're never gonna get out. It's life sentence. They don't even bother with the propaganda because they know all these people that are in these camps are dead and then walking. I mean, that's how bad it is, and that's today. That's not 100 years ago. I'm not talking about history, folks. I'm talking about right now. Sunday, 11:28, 8:04 p.m. right now. And I feel a little bit silly because here I've spent time studying these cults that I thought of did real damage to the mindset of the world mind, the people. And here there's an entire half of a country inside of a concentration camp under the strict authority of a cult leader that forces them to think his thoughts, study his history, study only these things, accept only this information, have no opinion of your own, wear the same clothes every day, wear the same color every day. Does this sound familiar, folks? Does it sound familiar? Forget Destiny. Forget Scientology. You're talking 24 million people live their lives day in, day out, every single day in this. Every day. And I'm not going to say I just found out about it because I've known that, yeah, it's bad. And there's, like I said, places in China, places in Colombia. There's a lot of places around the world that run this way. But 24 million people. And here's one of the things that really weighs heavy on my heart when I learned this is when you see that they're children that since the day they were born, they've been indoctrinated into this philosophy. If you're a Scientologist or you're in the Destiny cult or Gold Ring, Well, you know what? You've got to acknowledge some of your own responsibility. You walked into an org somewhere. You got involved somewhere along the lines of your own free will and your own volition, and now you've got to deal with it. You've got to accept your own responsibility for those kind of things. All right. But we're not talking about people that joined a cult. We're not talking about people that got sucked into something unknowingly and then woke up one day and realized what the hell was going on. We're not talking about that. We're talking about kids that were conceived, born, indoctrinated from day one. If you went in right now, if the United States went in right now and just put a boot in Kim Jong Il's ass, which, by the way, I'm not a fan of the military-industrial complex, and I'm not a fan of the empire and anything else. But I tell you what, if you actually went in and put a boot in Kim Jong Il's ass, I would clap. I mean, I would even support the taxes for the boot to go directly in his ass. I would pay for that, and I would, because this is beyond what we grasp and understand as a cult, because it's an entire nation that since birth have been indoctrinated into it. And it's so big, and you see this information, you see how they live, you see the rules of the society. I mean, it makes an Arab lifestyle, it makes the Mujahideen looks like Palm Beach. I mean, it's it's really heartbreaking because of the fact that even if these people were liberated from the regime that has taught them this and has conditioned them to behave this way and controls them by beating them and starving them, almost 700,000 people are dying a year of starvation. The worst death, by the way. They're dying of starvation in North Korea because they don't have enough food. And yet you get this Kim Jong Il person living in golden castles and living up this facade. But the thing is, even if you went in and did anything about it, you've got an entire nation of zombies. 24 million zombies. No thoughts of their own. I'll give you an example of why they're zombies. I saw in this documentary video, this guy is being allowed to go through North Korea, and they give you the official national tour. You never leave your guide. You're taken on a tour, and you're allowed to see certain things to show off the greatness of North Korea, and it's all about the greatness of their leaders. Well, in one of the museums, they have this huge, monstrous museum full of all this artwork and collections of the dynasty and emperors there. And the American that's holding the camera, she's explaining to him that yes, in 2005 we renovated and did all this expansion and blah blah blah. He was the one that brought up the fact. He was the one that brought up the fact of, wait a minute, in 2005 you spent all these millions of dollars to renovate this museum, and you've got 250,000 people dying of starvation. And the guide of the museum got offended. She got offended. And her rationale and her response immediately was, how dare you offend our leader, our beloved leader? It is our response. He makes these things available to the public, and it is worth all expense, no matter what the cost, to renovate his museum. You'll let 750,000 people of your people, your brothers, your sisters, your family die of starvation because Kim Jong Il is so important that his museum needs to be renovated. This is zombies, and you got 24 million of them. Forget Destiny, forget Scientology. What are we going to do about North Korea?